9 days. That is how long we went without power last February. Not a dramatic blackout from a disaster film. A winter storm that moved in on a Tuesday and did not move out. The grid went down on day 1. By day 3, it became clear this was not resolving quickly. I had food in the house, and I want to say that up front because it matters to everything that comes after. Rice, canned soups, pasta, bottled water. We had what most households have when they think they are covered. For the first 3 days, it felt like enough. On day 4, something started happening that I could not name at first. Nobody was going hungry. Calories were there. But the house felt different. Quieter in the wrong way. My son stopped finishing his meals. Not because there was not enough food. Because eating had become something we were just getting through. By day 9, when the lights came back on, I had a very specific list of what had been missing. Not what we ran out of. What was structurally absent from the beginning. That list is this video. I know what some of you are thinking. This is prepper content. 2 years ago, I would have clicked away from this before the first minute. What changed my mind was not reading about an emergency. It was being inside one and watching in real time exactly where the plan broke down. None of the 10 items I am about to walk through are dramatic or expensive. What they share is something more specific than calories. They are the structural layer that most food plans are missing entirely. A diet built on grains and standard canned goods will keep you alive. But within roughly a week, it will begin degrading the performance of everyone relying on it. Cognitive function drops. Decision quality deteriorates. Morale collapses before anyone can name what is happening. Most people blame the emergency. They never identify it as a gap built into their food plan from day 1. By the end of this list, you will know exactly what that gap is and what closes it. Let us count down. Number 10. Dried spices. The first reaction most people have is that this belongs near the bottom of any serious preparedness list. A comfort item. A nice extra. That framing is the exact mistake I made building our supply, and it cost us more than I understood until we were living inside the consequences. Human appetite is not a simple mechanical system. It is deeply tied to sensory experience. When food smells interesting and varies from meal to meal, people eat enough. When it becomes flat and identical day after day, appetite suppresses even when the body's caloric need is completely unchanged. Military nutrition programs treat flavor variety as an operational priority because its effect on performance and decision-making under stress is real and measurable. A small jar of garlic powder can season dozens of meals and weighs almost nothing. Same for black pepper, cumin, paprika, turmeric. Zero meaningful storage footprint, but they completely redirect the sensory experience of any dish. One detail most people miss: spices do not spoil, but they do fade. The aromatic compounds responsible for flavor degrade steadily when exposed to air, heat, and light. Airtight glass jars in a cool, dark location extend effective life to 3 to 5 years or well beyond. If you are choosing only 3 for pure versatility, the answer is garlic powder, black pepper, and cumin.
Number 9. Bouillon cubes. My brother described day 7 to me, and the detail that stayed with me was not what they ran out of. It was the smell. Every meal for a week had been odorless. Rice with no aroma. Beans with nothing coming off the pot. He said there was something about walking into the kitchen and smelling nothing that made eating feel like a task to complete rather than anything else. One bouillon cube dropped into hot water changes that completely. The smell alone does something before the first bite is taken. A warm, savory signal that tells the brain a real meal is being prepared. Plain rice cooked in that broth becomes intentional. Beans simmered in it become soup. The entire experience shifts. But bouillon does more than flavor. It contributes sodium and minerals. During sustained physical stress and the low-grade tension running through an extended emergency, electrolyte balance is a genuine physiological concern, not secondary comfort. This is why bouillon has been a consistent component of military field rations for decades. Move cubes out of cardboard packaging immediately. Cardboard absorbs moisture. A sealed glass mason jar with a silica gel packet inside is all it requires.
Number 8. Powdered eggs. Fresh eggs are one of the most nutritionally complete single foods that exist. Complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, and choline for neurological function. In normal life, eggs appear in more meals than most households consciously track. In an emergency that disrupts refrigeration, eggs are gone within days. At room temperature, they stay safe for roughly 2 to 3 weeks under ideal conditions and far less in fluctuating temperatures. In a power outage past 4 or 5 days, that supply is effectively finished and it takes an entire category of meals with it. Powdered eggs close that gap. The spray drying process removes moisture while preserving the nutritional structure. Stored in sealed containers with oxygen absorbers, they remain viable for 5 to 10 years or longer. Measured powder combined with water performs equivalently to fresh beaten eggs in virtually every application. Scrambled over a camp stove, stirred into soup, used as binding in flatbreads. For households with children, this matters beyond nutrition. Under stress, children retreat toward familiar foods. Scrambled eggs and egg-based porridge carry the psychological weight of a normal morning in the middle of a situation where nothing else feels normal. That is a functional tool, not a comfort.
Number 7. Nutritional yeast. I want to tell you about a failure mode that almost nobody discusses in emergency food planning because it is invisible until it has already been compounding for days. When my brother described feeling around day 6, the words he used were tired in a way that sleep did not fix and irritable for no reason he could clearly identify. He blamed the stress. That was a reasonable explanation. It was also incomplete. A diet built primarily on grains and legumes will be severely deficient in B vitamins within roughly a week. Specifically B12, B6, thiamine, riboflavin, and niacin. These vitamins drive energy metabolism, neurological function, and immune maintenance. When they run low, fatigue increases in a way that does not respond to rest and cognitive clarity drops. The people experiencing this almost universally blame the emergency itself. They never identify it as a nutritional gap built into their food plan from day one. Nutritional yeast solves this from an unexpected direction. It does not taste like a supplement. It tastes like mild-aged cheese. Rich, savory, slightly salty. Sprinkled onto hot rice, stirred into soup, mixed into porridge, it makes food genuinely better while simultaneously delivering a complete B vitamin complex, plant-based protein, and trace minerals including zinc and selenium. 2 entirely separate jobs from one lightweight inexpensive ingredient that takes up almost no shelf space. If this has been useful so far, a like helps other people find it. Only if you think it has earned one.
Number 6. Canned sardines. Every conversation about emergency protein follows the same path. Beans, lentils, maybe canned tuna. But there is one canned animal protein that outperforms everything else in that category on almost every practical measure, and most people walk directly past it in the grocery store without stopping. The canning process fully cooks sardines before sealing. Open the lid and the food is immediately ready. When cooking fuel is rationed or unavailable, that is not a minor convenience. It is a genuine operational advantage over every other protein source that requires preparation heat. A single standard can delivers complete protein containing all 9 essential amino acids along with omega-3 fatty acids for cardiovascular and neurological function. Because sardines are consumed with their bones, softened entirely during canning until they are undetectable in texture, they are also a meaningful source of dietary calcium. Almost nothing else in a standard emergency pantry directly addresses calcium intake. The oil in an oil pack can add caloric density and flavor to cooked rice or noodles. Nothing is wasted. Rotate sardines into regular meals now, before you need them. Familiarity is its own kind of preparation.
Number 5. Dried lentils. Most people building an emergency supply believe they have the protein category handled. Bags of dried beans on the shelf. Box checked. The problem only becomes visible when conditions deteriorate. Kidney beans, black beans, chickpeas all require 8 to 12 hours of soaking before cooking begins. Then another 1 to 2 hours of active boiling. In normal life that is manageable. In a situation where cooking fuel is finite and every hour of burn is a resource you cannot easily replace, that burden repeats with every meal across the full duration of the emergency. It is not a one-time inconvenience. It is a structural cost built into every meal you prepare. Lentils sidestep this entirely. No soaking required. Rinse directly into boiling water, fully cooked in 20 to 30 minutes. That single difference translates into real fuel savings, time savings, and simplicity that compounds the longer the disruption extends. One cooked cup delivers approximately 18 grams of protein along with dietary fiber, iron, folate, potassium, and complex carbohydrates. Paired with any grain, rice, wheat, or corn, the amino acid profiles form a complete protein covering all 9 essential amino acids. This combination appears independently across dozens of cultures on every inhabited continent throughout thousands of years. That consistency is evidence of something that works when very little else is available. Look at what the items on this list have in common so far. None are the primary calorie source most people think of first. Every single one is closing a specific gap inside a plan that already looks complete from the outside. Flavor management. Micronutrient coverage. Protein efficiency without fuel waste. These are the structural dimensions most plans are missing entirely. The next 4 items are where that gap becomes most critical.
Number 4. Vinegar. This is the item with the most unusual argument in its favor, and it is an argument that almost nothing else in any pantry can make. Vinegar does not expire. The acetic acid concentration creates a chemical environment permanently hostile to the bacteria and fungi responsible for spoilage. A properly sealed bottle of white distilled vinegar purchased today will be chemically identical and fully functional in 30 years. No other item on this list can make that statement without qualification. But shelf life is not what makes it irreplaceable. Think through the flavor profile of a standard emergency food supply. Grains add starch. Legumes add density. Salt adds depth. Spices add aromatics. Fat adds richness. There is one flavor dimension none of those provide. Brightness. The clean, sharp acidity that makes simple food feel complete rather than flat. A small amount of vinegar stirred into cooked beans or used as the base of a simple sauce changes the eating experience of that meal in a way nothing else does. Then there is the preservation application most people only think about when they no longer have the option. When fresh vegetables become available during an extended disruption, vinegar converts them into something usable across weeks through simple pickling. Without it, that window closes and the food is gone. White distilled for maximum versatility. No storage requirements beyond keeping the lid sealed.
Number 3. Ghee. Here is the gap at the center of most emergency food plans, including the one my brother had during those 9 days. Not protein. Not calories. Fat. Standard preparedness guidance builds almost entirely around carbohydrates. Rice, beans, pasta, oats, stored grains. Those things are essential. But building a supply around them alone creates a quiet deficiency in a macronutrient the body requires urgently during sustained stress and restricted dietary variety. Fat is the most calorie-dense macronutrient. 1 gram delivers 9 calories, compared to 4 from either carbohydrates or protein. Beyond calories, dietary fat supports brain function, hormone regulation, body temperature management, and sustained energy output. A supply chronically low in fat produces fatigue, cognitive decline, and disrupted hormone production. Real functional impairments in exactly the situation demanding clear thinking from everyone relying on that supply. Ghee is clarified butter taken one step further. Regular butter contains fat, water, and milk proteins. Ghee is cooked until virtually all remaining moisture and milk proteins are gone, leaving almost pure butter fat. The 2 mechanisms that cause dairy to spoil are moisture and lactose. Ghee contains virtually neither. Stored in sealed glass jars away from heat and light, it holds quality at room temperature without refrigeration for months, and significantly longer with any cooling at all. A spoonful stirred into plain cooked rice adds substantial calories and a slightly nutty rich dairy note that neutral cooking oils cannot replicate. Ghee has a smoke point of approximately 250 degrees Celsius, making it safer for high-heat cooking on improvised heat sources where precise temperature control is not possible.
Number 2. Salt. Before refrigeration. Before chemical preservatives. Before any form of canning technology existed, there was salt. For most of recorded human history, the ability to store food across seasons depended almost entirely on access to salt. Roman soldiers were paid partially in it. The word salary derives directly from salarium. Medieval trade routes organized themselves around salt production. Entire economies rose and collapsed based on its availability. In an emergency context, salt does 3 distinct things, and most people only think about one. The first is flavor. Salt is the single most foundational enhancer in all of cooking. Without it, every stored grain, every legume, every starch is flat and progressively harder to sustain eating across multiple days. The second is preservation. Salt inhibits bacterial and fungal growth through osmosis. Salt curing protein, fermenting vegetables in brine. These techniques predate refrigeration by thousands of years and retain full practical application whenever refrigeration is unavailable. Combined with vinegar, salt extends the useful life of fresh food significantly when that matters. The third is physiological necessity. Sodium is an essential electrolyte regulating fluid balance, nerve transmission, and muscle function. During physical exertion and sustained stress, sodium depletion is a real medical concern. Adequate intake is a biological requirement, not optional. And the storage characteristic nothing else on this list can match. Salt does not expire, does not degrade. A sealed container purchased today will be chemically identical in 50 years. Not approximately, exactly.
Number 1. Whole wheat. Every other item on this list solves a specific problem. This one is what all of them are built around. For approximately 10,000 years, wheat has been the single most consistently relied upon food source in human history. Not because it was the most convenient. Because it could be stored. Nomadic populations became settled communities because wheat could be kept across seasons. Cities became possible because wheat could be stockpiled. Armies sustained extended campaigns because wheat could be carried and prepared in the field. Populations survived multi-year droughts because wheat could be harvested and held. That is a 10,000-year record of demonstrated reliability across every kind of crisis human populations have encountered. Stored in sealed containers with oxygen absorbers in cool dry conditions, whole wheat berries hold their quality and germination capacity for 25 years or more. In basic sealed buckets, a decade or longer. Among the longest verified storage lives of any food product that exists. Wheat can be cooked whole like a heartier rice. Ground into fresh flour with a hand mill for bread, flatbreads, crackers, and pasta. Sprouted over 3 to 4 days with only water and indirect light, dramatically increasing vitamin C content in a way raw grain cannot. Whole wheat delivers complex carbohydrates, dietary fiber, moderate plant protein, and B vitamins and minerals including iron, magnesium, and zinc. Every other item on this list functions best when it has something to work with. Nutritional yeast needs something to sprinkle on. Ghee needs something to enrich. Bouillon needs something to flavor. Spices need something to season. Whole wheat is that something. The base layer from which everything else operates.
Think about 2 households. Same street, same income. Both on day 5 of a regional grid failure in winter. The first has food by quantity. Enough of everything that appears on a basic preparedness checklist. But it is flat and structurally incomplete in ways nobody warned them about. By day 5, 2 of the 3 children are pushing meals away. The adults are eating, but decisions are harder and patience is shorter. The second household has the same base quantities, but they have the structural layer. Rice cooked in broth. Ghee stirred in at the end. Nutritional yeast on top. Vinegar that made the last of the fresh vegetables into something worth eating. Scrambled eggs from powder on a Thursday morning that felt, for 20 minutes, like a normal Thursday. Same difficult situation. A genuinely different experience of being inside it. I was in the first household for 9 days. When the power came back on, I did not think about how much food we had. I thought about the specific things that had been absent and what each absence had cost us.
On each of my next 3 grocery trips after that, I added 2 items from what became this list. 2 items per trip. Nothing dramatic, nothing expensive. The entire list built across ordinary shopping over less than a month. The households that come through the next disruption in the best position are not the ones who react when shelves are already empty. They are the ones who acted weeks before anything happened.
Which one of these is not in your kitchen right now? Write it in the comments. Not for me. Writing a specific intention down measurably increases the probability of following through. That is behavioral research, not motivation. The comment is for you. I read every single one. Next video, you have the list. Now I am going to show you exactly how to store each one, which pairings produce the most complete nutritional coverage, and how to build something that functions like an actual sustainable diet rather than just a collection of items on a shelf. Subscribe if you do not want to miss it. 1 video a week. No more than that.